I don't actually care at all if this is true. I care if it's useful.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Curiosity Class. Today is an extra special day. I get to be joined by my new good friend, Justin Nault. He is an entrepreneur and nutritional therapist. So Justin, thanks so much for being here, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
So dude, give people a background. Like, who are you? How did you get here? What do you do?
Yeah, I try to keep this quick because it's a long, winding road that got here. But I mean, all of the work that I'm known for is around metabolic health. So I've been in that space now for making content for a little over 10 years. And it just came from me as a kid. I played a ton of sports growing up. I played hockey for 10 years. And the term in the 90s, which is now completely politically incorrect, was I was a fat kid growing up. And I got wrecked for it. You know, I had older brothers and his friends in school. Like I was always just getting teased for being overweight. So when I turned 15, for some reason, my dad wouldn't let us lift weights until we were 15. He thought it stunted growth. So at 15 years old, I was reading Muscle and Fitness magazine. I started lifting weights 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, running on a treadmill, just like doing all the things that I could do to change my body, which I didn't understand how big of a role that would play down the road, which we'll get to. But it basically made me develop really severe body dysmorphia because I grew up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and Sylvester Stallone movies. I'm like, that's what a man is. You got to look like that, you know? So it was really just a lifelong history from 15 years old of just completely punishing my body, like beating it into submission and trying to make it look the way I wanted it to look. And then I moved to Boston. I went to Berklee College of Music. I play piano and sing. Then I moved out to Nashville from there. So I had a 15-year music career and I was doing anywhere between 250 to 300 shows a year. So a lot of performing. I was on stage like 4 hours a night, every night. And at age 25, I got a reality TV show called The Big Time that was on ABC. So I had my first network reality appearance, this big show that we filmed out in Vegas. I put out an album. I had a YouTube channel that it still exists. If you go to YouTube now and search me, you'll probably find mostly music. It might be mostly nutrition now. It may have flipped because my album release was in 2021. So way back now. I was 25 years old. So I was in the music industry. And then over time, you know, probably the last few years of the music industry, I was like, okay, I'm basically drinking 6 nights a week. This is not fulfilling for me. I'm going to bed at 7 o'clock in the morning. I really didn't have room for any meaningful relationships. It's like, you know, every holiday, every weekend, you're on stage. Everybody else is out doing normal people things, right? You can't go date on the weekends because you're performing on the weekends. So I just found this real, like, kind of an emptiness. It just wasn't what I thought it would be. And the more successful I got in the music industry, the worse that feeling got. So as I know now, I mean, I'm 39 years old. This was around age 25. Everything post TV show started getting really weird because I hated the experience of filming the TV show, like the whole thing. I really didn't enjoy it. I was like, what am I doing here? And then when I got off the TV show and I'm filming all these music videos and I'm on stage performing, every night was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? What am I doing here? And eventually I was around, I want to say 26, 27. This was like 11 or 12 years ago. I think she just turned 12. I say she, so my niece was born and she was born terminally disabled. So she was having over 300 seizures a day. And within 7 days of life, she was put into the pediatric ICU. They hooked her up to all these machines. They did over $1 million in testing on her. Within a few weeks, my brother and his then wife had to make the difficult decision to install a G-tube in her stomach. She couldn't eat or drink. So they drill a hole in the baby's stomach and they feed her through a tube. It's like baby formula and things like that. Now, because I was on stage all the time, and I had this insane body dysmorphia from the time I was a child, I was doing everything under the sun for fitness. Bodybuilding, I got certified in kettlebells with Pavel Tsatsouline and Strong First. I hired an Olympian to teach me Olympic lifting. I was doing CrossFit. I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I was boxing. I was doing all of the things to just continue to beat my body into submission. But I was never getting the results that I wanted. I was always like chubbier than I wanted to be. So right around this time Savannah was born, I had discovered the paleo diet through a documentary film called In Search of the Perfect Human Diet. Literally, that's the title. It's amazing. By CJ Hunt, and CJ later became a friend. So it all kind of came full circle. But I knew just enough about nutrition to be kind of a pain in the ass to the doctors. So we're like living in the pediatric ICU. And this was when I first learned about the ketogenic diet. So this was long before the days of the keto diet as a social media diet to get shredded, right? And in medical settings, nutritional ketosis is used to suppress seizures, mostly epileptic seizures, in infants and children. There's a whole foundation called the Charlie Foundation that specializes in helping families transition their lifestyle to a ketogenic lifestyle to suppress the seizures in children. So they didn't know what was wrong with Savannah, but they assumed epilepsy, put her on a keto diet, and she's on a feeding tube. So it's very easy to keep a human in nutritional ketosis when you fully control the food that's going into their feeding tube.
But
So the way that they do this,
infant, like what were they giving her that didn't have carbs? Because doesn't all formula have carbohydrates?
So there's a formula by a company called Danone that is a literal ketogenic baby formula. Whoa. So it's called KetoCal, and you can look it up if you want to. So they start feeding her KetoCal to keep her in ketosis. Ketosis, unfortunately, was not working for her because she didn't turn out to be epileptic. But all I did was just read the ingredients on this thing. I didn't know much about biology and biochemistry at the time. I hadn't studied it yet. And I'm like, okay, this is technically, to your point, this is a high-fat, low-carbohydrate baby formula. But mainstream medicine does not think about quality at all. It's just like data. Is it high carb? Is it high fat? Is it low carb? Cool, it's keto. All of the fat was hydrogenated vegetable oils. It had artificial flavors and sweetenings. It had all these synthetic vitamins that are non-usable forms of vitamins that this baby needs. So I'm looking at this formula and I'm like, this is toxic sludge. And you're putting it into the belly of a dying infant. What is happening here? So I brought that to the attention of a neurologist at Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville. I was like, man, just look at these ingredients and explain them to me. He reads the bottle and he says, I never thought to check that. Word for word. And that was it, man. It was like I had this weird like goosebump moment where I'm looking around the room and I'm like, where are the grown-ups? Like, where I thought that this was like peak medical profession. Like, these are the experts. I'm working with a Vanderbilt neurologist here. They have a whole table of experts that had come together to like consult on my niece's condition because I couldn't figure it out. And that was what I call my cliche red pill moment. I'm like, this is insane. And then I went down the rabbit hole. I read a book called Medical Nemesis by Ivan Illich that is all about the horrors of mainstream medicine and what's called iatrogenic medicine, which is like disease-causing medicine. And I was off to the races from there. So I started studying biology and biochemistry. At the time, I really did a lot of self-harm because I kind of put it on my back to save my niece. Mm-hmm. And her life expectancy at this point was less than 3 years. And she ended up diagnosed with something called KCNQ2. She was one of 96 living cases in the world at that time. So I made a baby formula in my kitchen with food dehydrators and food processors and basically made a paleo-friendly baby formula that was nutrient-dense whole foods like liver and things like that. And I got it cleared by the doctors to feed it to Savannah in her G-tube. And then I had this idea. I just read the 4-Hour Work Week because I was falling out of love with the music industry. I'm like, what else can I do? And I decided I'm going to take on the baby food, the baby formula industry, and I'm going to completely disrupt this thing, which is when I learned that any and all foods that are going into infants under the age of 12 months are regulated by the FDA and legally required to contain seed oils. You can't make a baby formula that doesn't have seed oils in it.
Why?
I'm like, who knows, man? That's the great question. RFK Jr. is working on it right now. There's a project called, what do they call it? Project Stork Speed, I believe, where they're trying to get that specific piece of legal nonsense taken out in terms of how we make baby formula. So it should open up to have different companies come in and make better formula. He also lifted the ban where people can now legally purchase baby formula from Europe, which doesn't have seed oils in it, and they can import it. You used to not technically be allowed to do that. Wow. So now, 11, 12 years later, I'm finally seeing like some reform happen. But at the time, I'm like, I've never been an entrepreneur besides promoting my own music. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to take on the FDA with my first business. Sure. So I ended up taking that baby formula. I added a bunch of collagen protein to it, and I launched my first e-commerce product, which was called the Perfect Paleo Powder, and I sold it as a protein powder to CrossFitters. And that's how I got into e-commerce. So I turned the baby formula into a protein powder. Still exists today. It's called the Daily Superfood Powder on my Clovis website. And then that was it. From there, once I launched the company, I started doing trade shows and making social media content and all this stuff. I made a Facebook group, and I started getting all these people asking me nutrition questions as I was studying biology and biochemistry, hoping to save my niece. And that turned into me going live on Facebook once a week. I called them just Ask Me Anything, Facebook Live. I did over 115 of those for 115 weeks straight and just started growing and growing and growing. The podcast grew, the audience grew. And now here we are 2026 with almost 1 million followers. I just did the Maha movie, and I've had a couple successful supplement companies. I still do coaching and all sorts of stuff. That's really how I got here.
Holy smokes. And I think what everyone, myself mostly, is wondering, like, how is Savannah? What happened with her?
Yeah, that's the first question every time. Her birthday is in April. She just turned 12, I believe, which is astounding. Far exceeded. I mean, she's 4 times her life expectancy at this point.
Right.
However, she's still considered 100% disabled. So they have a nurse that lives in her house that's there 50 hours a week. She can't walk, she can't talk, she can't respond or anything like that. She's still fed through a G-tube. So the condition never improved, but she also did not pass away, which is, silver lining there. And now her story has inspired a whole lot of people to get toxic junk out of their lives.
Dude, that's wild. And so I guess, man, I don't even know where to take that. So how do you, from there, how did you, is that what you're doing today? Like, does that take us through till today?
Yeah. So the last 10 years has been basically my journey as a content creator. I got out of the music industry when COVID hit. I played my last gig in Atlanta, Georgia in March of 2020, like 3 days before like lockdowns happened. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of took that as the writing on the wall. I was like, all right, 95% of my income just evaporated. I had Clovis at the time, which was nice. It was able to pay me like a little bit of money because it was a small company. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go all in on being a content creator, influencer, and started the coaching business. I started a second supplement company called MedChoice. MedChoice still exists today on Amazon. We have one of the best-selling turmeric capsules in the world on all of Amazon. So it led to a lot of good, and that's what really turned me into a full-time influencer, I guess you'd say.
What was the period of time where there was overlap between you were doing music still, but you had started e-commerce and you had turned because if I was hearing you correctly, the first product you actually sold was the protein powder.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how long was the overlap of both those things?
Yeah, several years. I didn't leave the music industry until that was 2020. So I was like 33 years old. So I stayed in the industry for a long time, which was really challenging. And that's when I got into a lot of different styles of biohacking, which we can talk about today. Because like everything I do is all around getting your body to create more energy, because more energy means better health. So I was constantly hacking my own energy with all these different biohacking techniques, because I'd get off stage at 3:00 in the morning, and then I'm running an e-commerce brand, which is really operating 9 to 5 if you want to talk to vendors and all that stuff, So there was a few years where it was unbelievably difficult. I was really just kind of living alone in my house in Nashville. I'd done well in the music industry. So like I had a couple houses and I was doing well. My time was my own during the day. So I was really just building Clovis, playing gigs at night. And that was it. That was my whole life. At one point I had a prescription for modafinil, like the limitless drug, so I could stay awake and do my work every day. Like it was gnarly there for a minute. It was a hard building phase.
Dude, and when did you feel like you could finally get out of that? Like you could look up and breathe a little bit?
Yeah. Really not until COVID. And I always say like, I hate to say it this way because COVID was so hard for so many people. I think a lot of people have the same sentiment I do, where COVID was really a wake-up call for me of the places where I was still out of alignment in what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. So the music industry was very much golden handcuffs. I had done so well at that point that I could, get up and go play a single gig and make $3,000 or whatever. So I was like, okay, I go play a few hours and make a few $1,000 and come back home. I don't know that I ever would have left, really. I don't know that I could have pushed myself fully out of the industry until the universe was like, there is no more music left to be played. You can't be on stage. You can't play bar gigs. We were doing a lot of corporate events for big companies and weddings. I still own a company called Rock and Roll Pianos in Nashville. So we're doing all these corporate events and stuff. And my crew still does those gigs now. But I don't know that I ever would have left. Really, the industry shut down for about a full year. Major tours, bar gigs, everything just evaporated. So I really had no choice.
Did you consider the e-commerce brand to be your first entrepreneurial venture? Or were you the kid who, you were making paper routes and you were hiring other kids to do the paper routes for you?
Yeah. If you want to go back in time, I started my first clothing line out of my locker when I was 15 years old in high school. I started a line called Daps Clothing with my friend Sean. And at one point we were making like $2,000 a month selling clothes out of our locker. So, entrepreneurship started for me very, very early. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So it was fairly natural. Like when you were making this collagen protein powder, you're like, oh, I'm going to sell this. Like this makes sense.
Yep. 100%. That. And when I was 21, I was hired at a bar called the Big Bang, dueling pianos in Nashville. And I was the youngest piano player that ever hired at the time. All the guys around me were like 42, 43 at the time. And then they brought me out one day. We're playing these bar gigs and making pretty decent money. And it was a really popular bar at the time. And then these guys pulled me out to play a wedding. I went and played a wedding and they paid me $1,000. And I was like, how often do people do this? They're like, oh, people come to the bar and see us. And then they give us their number and say, hey, can we hire you for XYZ wedding? And 2 weeks later, I had Rock and Roll Pianos LLC formed. And I went to these guys and was like, this is our new business. I have started this. We're 3-way partners. Like, thank you for bringing me in. And then we started advertising on websites like the Nault, KNOT, which is where like wedding planners go to hire people. And we started just growing that business exponentially. So yeah, I mean, I guess I've always had, and you know, when I was in the music industry, I bought a couple houses, like I said, and turned them into Airbnb rental properties. So, I mean, I guess I was always entrepreneurial, you know, but my first e-com entrepreneurship, well, not even that really, because I was promoting the YouTube channel all the time, like for my music, you know? So I guess I've definitely always been an entrepreneur, but yeah.
Dude, you're like, oh yeah, my first time being an entrepreneur was like the protein powder. I just did 5 other things before that.
Yeah, I guess so. That's true. Yeah.
That's okay. So when you think of yourself, what do you think of as? Do you consider yourself like, oh, I'm a nutritional therapist, I'm an entrepreneur? Like, what's your title in your head?
Yeah, now I would say entrepreneur for sure.
Okay,
that's probably first and foremost for me. Even on the coaching side, when I look at myself, yes, I'm a certified nutritional therapist. I'm a certified specialist in sports nutrition. I'm a certified specialist in fitness nutrition. I actually started the first nutrition coaching I was doing was for professional MMA fighters, like very high performance nutrition for weight cuts and things like that. But now the way that I look at it, I really think of myself as like a freedom coach, an architect of freedom, I guess I would say, is what I found over time is every style of coach you ever hire for any reason is essentially a life coach. The word life coach is loaded and a little cliche and has a lot of stigma behind it, but that's ultimately it, right? You actually said this on a podcast that I listened to of yours, where you said, if information were the problem, we'd all be billionaires with 6-packs. Mm-hmm. Information is never the problem. Mindset, perspective, that's the problem. And what I've really whittled it down to, the primary thing that I teach is self-love. If you don't love yourself, making challenging lifestyle changes stick consistently is incredibly difficult to do. So I use the example, if somebody comes to me and they're 300 pounds and they're drinking 11 Coca-Colas a day, and I say, hey, listen, like we got to get this Coca-Cola habit under control. It's very easy for somebody to be like, oh my God, here's another nutritionist. He's ruining my life. He's taking away this Coca-Cola, the one thing that I love. This sucks. This is awful, blah, blah, blah. Whereas if I can shift their mindset to a place where they understand that the thing they're putting in their body is toxic and is actively harming them, if you love yourself, it's much harder to make the decision to poison yourself. If you don't love yourself and you've built a life that is completely out of alignment for you, then the relief that you get from drinking that Coca-Cola is near impossible for me to overcome. So I can say, here are your macros, here's your fitness plan, this is how you get healthy. But if you're stuck in traffic every day, driving to a job that you hate, where your boss treats you like crap, and then when you get home, you're in a toxic relationship with a partner that doesn't treat you well, and all of this noise just makes life a very difficult thing for you, well, then stopping off at the drive-thru to get a Wendy's Frosty on your way home from work makes sense if that Frosty is the best part of your day. It's very hard for me to overcome. So we have to handle everything holistically.
Do you run into like some sort of self-selecting bias though? Because if someone's coming to you for help, like your point makes total sense for if you could go to everybody, be like, hey man, like let's get you to love yourself a little bit, you know? But if someone's coming to you, don't they kind of by definition, they're seeking some sort of help and do you run into that self-selecting bias at all?
For sure. Yeah. But the thing is, right, it's the myth of I'll be happy when, right? So a lot of these people don't realize that they have low self-worth or low self-love, but they've taught themselves in their mind, if like, yes, my life sucks right now. Admittedly, I think my life sucks and everything would be so much better if I could just lose 60 pounds. Once I lose 60 pounds, I'll be happy. People will respect me. I'll have more confidence. They'll treat me better, yada, yada, yada. My Instagram pictures will get more likes if I'm 60 pounds lighter, right? But it's a fallacy. It's the fact that they're 60 pounds overweight is a symptom of the low self-worth, low self-love. And the reason why they self-sabotage is so they can stay in the pattern of my life sucks and I am a victim.
Interesting.
They're doing it by choice. It's the same way in business. A lot of people will run businesses for years that don't make money and they just struggle. And they have this idea that they're an entrepreneur, a hustler, yada, yada. And even at the highest levels, right? I did a viral video that did like 2.5 million views about what I call traumatized influencers. And I used Alex Hormozy as an example. And then months later, he did a podcast with Tony Robbins where he revealed to Tony Robbins, like, yeah, I do this because I don't know what else to do.
Right.
And happiness has evaded me to the point where my mantra in my 20s was fuck happiness. Like he says these things out loud. So you start to realize that no matter what people are going for, if they don't handle the internal wrestling match that's going on, nothing is ever enough. The goalpost will always move. Losing 60 pounds is not going to make you happy if you're not happy right now. It's not going to make you love yourself if you don't love yourself right now. So the self-love piece of all this is really, I always say Clovis is a Trojan horse. My coaching is a Trojan horse. Like, you want to see your abs? Cool. Awesome. Let's do it. But everybody that comes into one of my programs, the first exercise they get is called mirror work, where I have them stand in the mirror and say, I love you out loud 10 times. And you would be shocked. I have women that literally tell me, nope, I won't do that. Can't do it. They can't stand in a mirror and say, I love you out loud. They literally cannot bring themselves to physically do the thing. And then it's like, okay, where do you think the problem lies? With the messy nutrition information that the internet tells you keto and carnivore and paleo and Whole30 and you don't know what to do? Or the fact that you can't stand in a mirror and look at yourself?
Dude, that's wild. I'm going to try this after we get off. I'm going to, I think I can, but now I'm kind of questioning like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe not.
I highly recommend it.
How do you think about the balance, or maybe it's not a balance, but like, I consider myself someone who very much loves themselves. Like but I don't want to, and at the same time, like there are things that I consider myself to be ambitious for. So it's like this delineation of like, I love my life holistically. Like I think my life's amazing and I'm very lucky. And like, I want to increase different things in different aspects of my life. How do you think about that difference in ambition versus love, I guess?
Amazing question. Yeah, there is there's healthy ambition and there is trauma-based ambition, right? So if you go listen to the interviews of someone like Hormozy, he will talk about his relationship with his dad, having a chip on his shoulder around that, wanting to prove something to his dad, feeling like he was really worthless. He made a lot of bad decisions when he was a heavy drinker, when he was young. He's like constantly beating himself up for this thing. It's like he has to prove that he's worthy of love. And this, every entrepreneur I've ever worked with, I don't care how much money they have, whatever. I'm like, you want a Rolex, you want a Lambo, you want the big business, you want six-pack abs, you want whatever. All of those things can be broken down to you want more love. Every single one of them. We could literally sit here for the next hour and you could come up with examples of ambition of things that you want in the world. And we can trace them back to I want more love. Because all of them ultimately lead to that. The problem with trauma-based ambition is the goalpost keeps moving because you don't know how to receive love. And no matter what you accomplish in the world, you still don't feel worthy of that love. Whereas the flip side, what it sounds like you've accomplished, which is where I feel like I am now, the last 12 years of my life was me just learning how to love myself and not realizing that I really didn't. And that was why I wanted to be a famous performer, because I got external validation and snaps and claps and people wanted to take their picture with me every night. But I felt really empty and I had a drinking problem at the time. So I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting all this adoration that I was seeking, but I'm getting the adoration for performing. So I'm not getting it for being inherently me. I'm getting it for being the caricature of me that is the one that everybody sees on stage, right? So I've shifted now. I live in a place, and it sounds like you're there as well. I think of this entire simulation that we live in, whatever you want to call it, as a video game. And the video game is choose your own adventure, right? So I think of everything as unique consciousness experiences. So this present moment, I'm having a unique consciousness experience of being Justin right now on a podcast with Jeff. Right? This is my present moment experience. Now, I can take stock of this present moment experience and say there are adventures and things that I want to do in the world that I can't currently do because of my net worth, let's say, or my cash flow. And I can decide I want to experience a different state of consciousness. I want to experience a different, unique consciousness experience. And to do that, like a video game, I need more coins. Okay, so how do I go get more coins that unlock the next level? That's healthy ambition. I want to have an experience that I haven't currently had, but I'm not telling the story. If I don't get the coins and have those experiences, I'm a loser or I'm a piece of shit or I'm not valuable or whatever, right? It's like anytime you're trying to accomplish things to prove to yourself or other people that you're worthy and valuable, that's trauma-based ambition.
Got it. And obviously you'd want to have more healthy ambition, less trauma-based ambition. And I'm sure everybody has trauma-based ambition or some sort of trauma. Like everyone has stuff, right? Yes. So I imagine like your work isn't to remove the stuff. It's just get people to notice the stuff.
Exactly. Yes,
Okay.
to have awareness of what is driving your behavior. Because like one of the most famous Carl Jung quotes of all time is, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate.
Mm.
So we have to understand what is driving our core behaviors. And until we do that, we can't take control of them. And this is what I do in my actual life coaching. Right? I have people that come to me for metabolic health. I have men that sign up for me for masculinity and polarity coaching, and then actual life coaching. So that's really what we're doing in life coaching, is trying to figure out what is driving your behavior. And then the things that we uncover as trauma-based ambition, we do something that Carl Jung famously calls shadow work. What are the parts of yourself that you find unlovable? The parts of yourself that you hide from the world, right? And this doesn't have to be like, people hear shadow work and they go, oh, these deep, dark secrets and my skeletons in the closet, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. When I was 8 years old, I sat down and played the piano, and all the grownups went crazy and loved it. And they clapped and said, this kid is amazing. He's the next Billy Joel. He's a phenom. And they started putting me on stages or recitals at 8 years old. Do, 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 do. And all the grownups are clapping. Yay, 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 yay. So the wiring that my brain got is, this is how I get love. So if we go back to childhood, your brain is filtering two things: what gets me more love and what takes love away. And that's how your ego and shadow is formed. So for every Justin Nault who sat down and played the piano and his parents clapped and cheered and said, yay, Justin, there's some other kid whose, dad just got home from a 12-hour shift and he sat down to play the piano while dad was sleeping, and dad came downstairs and screamed at him, don't touch that piano, I'm taking a nap. Rah! That kid learns like, okay, well, the performer side of me, I'm going to squash that because that made dad really angry, right? So in my ego is perform, be exceptional, make people happy, make people smile, make people laugh, right? And in my shadow is like, be a wallflower. Don't be exceptional. Don't be the person at the party that everybody looks at and says, wow, he's really cool. Just be quiet. Let other people talk. You know what I'm saying? So like all of my wallflower behavior was in my shadow, and my exceptional performer behavior was in my ego. But for my next door neighbor, it might be the exact opposite.
And so from that is the goal to move the shadow into the light, so to speak. So like
Exactly.
you want to take that and acknowledge that, and then just like sit with it.
Yeah. So to me, this is a very large statement to make, and it's completely subjective, and I understand that. I think the purpose of life is unconditional self-love. Can I love all parts of myself, all parts of my behaviors, all of my things, right? So do I love myself if I get home from a party and I didn't really talk to that many people and I was pretty quiet and I just kind of observed and didn't make 100 new friends? There was a time in my life where that was completely unacceptable. Like I had to show up at a party and be like, I'm walking into a room of 100 strangers and I'm walking out with 100 friends. It's almost like my life depends on it. Like I have to behave that way, So it's just finding a way to learn to love the parts of myself that aren't the big, bright, shiny parts that my ego is so used to performing. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. And how do you, like, if we fast forward to today, I'm sure everyone's still working on this. Like this is a work in progress, but like, how does that show up for you today? Like if like you notice something, like, ooh, this is a feeling that I had that like, oh, I wonder if that's from my light or from my shadow. Is that how you think about it?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's periods of time when I was first going through this where it was unbelievably challenging. Like I worked with a therapist. I did talk therapy for about 5 years, and then in my 20s, and then I went to the jungle and did ayahuasca. I had the cliche like big ayahuasca moment in Peru, which was the first psychedelic I ever did, was ayahuasca in the jungle. So that was really big for me. And then I came back and I learned about somatics, and I hired a somatic coach who had me do these rage practices of like smashing pillows and screaming and ecstatic dance and moving my body. And that actually got me to the point where I could cry. And I had never cried as a grown man.
What does somatic mean?
The word somatic basically means of the body, right? Have you ever heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that's a really famous book, basically talking about how trauma is stored in the nervous system. So a good way to move stored trauma that's in the nervous system is through movement. So things like ecstatic dance. This is actually even when you get into like BDSM and kink and these kinds of things, is people are playing with power dynamics and they're really moving their nervous system in ways where they can express themselves in ways they hadn't expressed themselves before. I come from a very, very toxic masculine place. I was getting in a lot of street fights when I was younger. There was a lot of like criminal activity happening in my life. There was just a lot of intense things happening, and certain things like I didn't learn how to dance till I was 35 because in my mind that was feminine. And where I grew up, being feminine is like, you literally get called derogatory names for that. Like, I was just raised to be a brutal, tough guy, which is why I became a boxer and got into jujitsu and all this stuff when I was in my 20s. I did like a lot of really hyper masculine things. I live for the side quest, man. I'm telling you, like, I've had so many side quests all around the world, and I try to find them and seek them out because in my mind, they're unique consciousness experiences. And the more unique consciousness experiences I have, the more of myself I reveal, and the more new parts of myself I get to learn to love.
Interesting. So how do you balance that with then being in a relationship and being, because obviously like you live, I don't know, I hear what you're saying with like the purpose of life is to, I forget, I don't want to put words in your mouth. The purpose of life is to love yourself radically, love as much unconditionally. Yeah. Total. I actually really like that. But I think also like we live in community, and like you need other people in your life to, I don't know, live a fulfilled life and like be a part of something bigger than you, you know? So like, how do you think about those two things, or are they different in your head?
All right, we're going to get way trippy. Prepare yourself, right? I teach people something called the mirror method. So I fundamentally believe that my entire reality is a reflexive holosphere, that it is a simulation created by me for me. The point of it is for me to come here and forget that I created it. And to understand that right now, Justin is having a conversation with Jeff, who is a mirror for Justin. So Justin is having a conversation with Justin through a mirror named Jeff. You and I's consciousness is not separate. And this is where I get into duality versus non-duality, right? Like, I live my life through the lens of non-duality, where everyone else is fundamentally me. So for example,
you love everyone because they're all you.
Bingo. If I am limited by how much I can unconditionally love other people by the degree that I can unconditionally love myself. So if I can't unconditionally love me, I'm always going to find fault in Jeff. Always. If I sit down and have coffee with you for an hour, my mind's going to fixate on, oh, he said that thing and that thing was weird. And oh, he does this. He likes pickleball and I don't like pickleball, right? It's like, I'll start judging. So this is the thing. There's like, I think people have focused so much on the idea of being selfless and like in service of others. And I have to go change the world. And that's how I will prove that I am a team player in this community and everything. It's no, fundamentally, everything that I need is within me. And if I love myself unconditionally, and I understand that everyone around me is a mirror for me, I have to love you unconditionally in order to be loving myself unconditionally. Through the act of unconditionally loving me, I'm unconditionally loving you. And through the act of unconditionally loving you, I'm unconditionally loving me.
Okay, so that is kind of wild. So, but there's limits here, right? Because you don't want to be, we all know that person who like will martyr themselves for someone else, not literally, but like the person who doesn't actually do what they want to be doing because they're doing it for somebody else. And like, they're always in service to others almost to a fault, right? Like, where does that come in? Because they are unconditionally loving somebody else, but it's actually hurting them. No?
If it's hurting them, is it unconditionally loving self?
No, it's not.
Then you can't do it. So what you're talking about is people pleasing, right? Yes. People pleasing, martyrdom is anti-self-love. It's the exact opposite of what I'm talking about here. It's like, you know what? I actually only think I'm valuable if I'm serving other people, and it doesn't care. I don't care what I want. It doesn't matter what I want. It doesn't matter if I'm suffering. I need to be needless. I don't want other people to take care of me. I take care of all the other people. It's my role to be the martyr that takes care of everyone. And 85% of my clients are women. And one of the hardest things I have to overcome with them is mommy martyrdom, where these women are like, everyone else comes first. My kids come first. My husband comes first. The PTA wants me to bake cookies and I'm stressed out of my mind. I don't have time to bake cookies, but I have to do it because they asked me to, right? And this person is just constantly putting their own needs on the back burner and never showing up for themselves, which is not an act of self-love. It's like the cliche term on an airplane, like you put your oxygen mask on first before you help other people. And if you don't do that, you will be less helpful to other people. What you will also do is constantly in your head be running a scoreboard and building unspoken resentment of the people that you say you're being selfless for.
Right.
I meet so many moms that secretly resent their kids and resent their partner, and they won't admit it. They won't say it out loud. When I get them to say it out loud, they burst into tears. And what do they say? I'm an awful mother. How can I resent my children? Oh my God, like what a terrible person I am. It's like constantly beating up the martyr over and over and over. It's anti-self-love. If you can start with service of self through unconditional love, that will radiate out into every single interaction that you have in the world, period. If you try to do it the other way, I almost never see it work.
Wait, yeah. So what is the other way?
The other way is what you're talking about. My needs don't matter. I am here to be of service of other. That is why I'm here. My core purpose for being on this earth is to serve other people. That's it.
So then, okay, but let's take the other extreme. So someone who is like super selfish. So like they never help other people. They're always like, oh, I would, but I need me time. I need to I need to go get a massage because I'm tense, or I need to go do this for me and that for me. And like, it's always me, me, me. So I think that's probably the other extreme, no?
For sure. Yeah. But then you have the balance of, if I'm doing that, is that loving other people? Is it being loving to other people?
I would probably argue no.
Exactly.
Because but so how do you balance those? So I guess what is the balance that you go for? Is like, I'm sure it's different for everyone. So it's a hard question, but
yeah, I mean, if you're me, right, then I can't always constantly 100% ignore your needs and say, no, I have to only think of Justin's needs and never think of Jeff's needs. So we have a balance here, right? And this is where we move from things like people pleasing. The actual 3D logistics that we're talking about here are very, new age therapy terms like boundaries, right? Like, how do I set boundaries with people? I can tell my family, listen, I really want to show up for you in this thing. I'm tapped right now and I'm going to take some me time. And then it becomes like a yes and. Like, hey, I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to help you with that thing. I just need like 10 minutes. I'm going to go literally sit in my office on a yoga cushion, and I'm just going to breathe for 10 minutes. Like, let me settle myself. I have to do that with my fiance and my baby sometimes. It's like, yes, I'm here for you 100%. Give me like, I just got off a call or I just got off a podcast. Give me 5 to 10 minutes. Let me sit down, reset myself, like kind of center myself, and then show up as the dad and the fiance that I want to be, to love the mirror, which is me, to show up as the best version of myself for my fiance, which gets reflected back to me. But if I skip that, oh no, listen, I'm super stressed. I just got off, let's say I got off a sales call that went horribly. And I'm like, oh man, I really wanted that client. I really wanted this thing. And I'm stressed out. And it's like, hey, dad, we need you right now. I'm like, okay, of course, if my baby's having an emergency situation or a tantrum or something, and she's breaking down and she needs me, I'm going to go take care of her because she's a child and I can't expect her to regulate her own emotions. Sure. Whereas my fiance, I can say, hey, give me 10 minutes. And she's like, yeah, I got it. So there is always a balance, the same way when I do masculinity and polarity coaching. Like, there's a balance between the masculine and feminine within yourself, and it's ego and shadow, right? So I have to integrate the ego and integrate the shadow to become a whole self. I have to integrate the mirror, you and myself, to become whole self, right? So I'm aware of your needs. I'm aware of my needs, but I'm not going to harm myself literally to meet your needs, and vice versa. I wouldn't expect you to do that for me. Does that make sense?
Right. Dude, that's
and
wild.
Yes, to what you're saying, the balancing act is very, very difficult to learn. It's very challenging. And one of the primary ways that I teach this is through radical honesty. If I always tell the truth, then I'm going to be much better off, because what's happening is a lot of people aren't stating boundaries. They're not saying what they need. They're not saying how they actually feel. Someone says, can you do this thing for me? And they're like, yes, of course, 100%. In the back of their mind, they're like, how? I can't believe they asked me to go help them move. Oh my God, I'm so busy this week, and now I got to go help this person move. But on the phone, it's like, yeah, totally, I'll be there. Don't worry. Boom, I'm going to show up for you. So when you're putting other people's needs first in a way that's self-harm, you throw the whole thing out of balance.
Dude, that's crazy. Let's talk
and
about
again,
energy.
I always say this. This is 100% subjective. I do not believe in objective reality, straight up. And that's like a radical statement to some people, but I fundamentally don't. Like, I think if you believe that the world is run by lizard people that live in a hollow earth and they run the whole world, and you want to live your life through that lens, you will find reticular activating system. You will find more and more and more evidence that there are lizard people. You can go down whatever choose your own adventure rabbit hole you want to. For me, this philosophy has been the most life-changing, has led to the most adventure in my life, has led to the most love, deeper community than I've ever had, better relationships than I've ever had. So for me, I don't actually care at all if this is true. I care if it's useful. Did it change my life for the better? For me, yes. Some people may be listening to this and be like, this guy's out of his mind. I have no desire to even, think about this thought further than this podcast. That's totally fine. It's a subjective adventure. Exactly. 100%, man. That's it.
Let's talk about energy. My wife and I talk about this on a probably weekly basis. What is energy to you? Like, how would you define it? How do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything is energy, right? Like, energy is what makes matter solid for existence. Like, if there's no energy running through the universe, particles literally don't hold their structure. The same is true of the human body. If you're in a low energy state, if you have no ATP, is the cellular energy currency of the body. If I take cyanide, it prevents my mitochondria from creating ATP, and I'm dead within seconds. If I don't have energy, I'm literally dead. So there is like the universal energy, like, right? Justin says he shows up in the world with unconditional love. So if I'm coming to you with the energy of unconditional love, then I hope when you walk away from this conversation, you go talk to your wife or partner, and man, I really like that guy. I like talking to that guy. I'd like to spend more time with him. That was fun. I feel good walking away from this. There's that sort of intangible, esoteric energy. And then when I get to metabolic coaching, there is actual energy, which is how much ATP is your body creating. And that's the core of all the work that I do. We want to increase ATP output in the body at a cellular level.
Okay, wait, I want to get there, but let's focus on the interpersonal one first. So
Sure.
yeah, what is the relationship between like you're having a conversation with someone, you leave and you're fired up versus you have a conversation with someone, you leave and you're like, yeah, I need to go take a nap. That was exhausting.
Yeah.
What is that?
I mean, you're picking up on their energy, right?
Okay.
That's really what's happening there. In the same way, if you're around somebody who's sick and then 2 days later you got the sniffles and you have sick, it's like your body is literally transferring information via energy. So I think energy is an information carrier, and that happens between people, which is why things like illness happen.
Okay. Say more. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, well, so again, there's like the 3D tangible aspect of this where people talk about like viruses and bacteria that can transfer between humans. But then there is the actual unexplainable energy, right? Like, dude, we're speaking to each other by the millisecond in real time in 2 different locations in the world. And this is all carried through energy. It's just energy coming to me, energy coming to you. There's wires, and then there's not wires in the Wi-Fi, but there's technically wires running all through the ground that make this come to me, right? And if we start to zoom in, oh, wait a second, there's wires in the ground, like veins and nervous system mapping in a human body, and there's energy everywhere and moving. This is where I get into duality versus non-duality, right? I fundamentally believe everything that exists in this reality is actually me. So another analogy I can give you for this is, if all flowers die, bees die. If all bees go extinct, there are no flowers. Are bees and flowers separate? Or are they the same entity?
Before this conversation, I would have said yes, but now I would say no.
Exactly. So we have a giant ecosystem that's completely interdependent on one another. And when you start pulling pieces of the puzzle away, other pieces literally start to die. We've seen this, for example, in wildlife, when they say, we're going to introduce wolves to this ecosystem for some reason. We're going to put a bunch of wolves in this forest. And then 5 years later, they're like, oh, they've decimated the deer population. What are we going to do? It's overrun with wolves, right? Like, you messed with the natural order of things. And I think that that's what's happening. The primary thing that humans are doing, we talked a little bit about this off air of like inputs for humans, is we're constantly disrupting our own energy production through, negative media, or metabolic toxins, eating ultra-processed foods that disrupt our cellular function. All these things, we're constantly getting in the way of our own energy in like a 3D tangible ATP production level, and also on like a psycho-spiritual level of like how we feel in the world, the energetics between 2 people.
Okay, so yeah, okay. Now let's move to ATP stuff. So what does that mean? I think I got like a C in bio. Like I'm very
totally,
not good with.
I mean, keep in mind, I didn't study any of this stuff until really when my niece was born so sick. I had been introduced to Rob Wolf, who was like a god in the paleo world. He's like one of the godfathers of paleo. He ran one of the first CrossFit gyms in the world. And I'd gotten to know him pretty well. And he started telling me, he's like, man, if you really want to understand the human body, you have to stop reading everybody's books, right? So at the time I was reading Dave Asprey's book and Abel James's book and Rob Wolf's book and Ben Greenfield's book, right? And then fast forward to today, and now I'm friends with all these people in real life, which is amazing. But what I was basically doing was taking other people's opinions and putting it into my brain and almost considering it as fact, which is really the danger with like self-help books and all these things, right? I have like 400 books in this house. And it's like, okay, read all these books, but you don't understand this is other people's opinions, right? So then when I started to actually dig into actual textbooks, like Rob is a biochemist by trade before he became an influencer. So he was like, yo, I'm just going to send you the list of books that I studied in college to become a biochemist. I was like, cool. And I started going to university library websites and buying those textbooks so I could understand how the human body works. And we can talk about that too, because there's a lot of very corrupt science. Like the model of human cellular biology that's taught in schools today is not true. And we've known that since like the 70s. So there's a lot of mismatch happening. And that's because of big pharma and all these things that we can get into. But I wanted to fundamentally understand how my own body works. Mm-hmm. So I'm basically mapping the entirety of human metabolism. The word metabolism is a catch-all for how a human body takes food and eventually produces energy from it.
Okay.
That's the entirety of human metabolism. Same way if you look at a car and you put gasoline in the gas tank, all of the steps between the gas going into the little tube that takes it to the engine does all these different processes, and then the car moves forward,
Sure.
right? It's the production of energy. So we are little energy production systems, and metabolism is how that happens.
Okay.
So like from the peak, we take in food, you have beta oxidation, which is how we turn fat into fuel. And then we have glycolysis, essentially, which is how we convert sugar into fuel. Okay. All of those little intricate processes all along the way to eventually creating ATP are human metabolism. So that's what I studied, and that's what I try to help people increase. And the number one reason why it's decreased is people are starving themselves, one, and two, 75% of the American food system is known metabolic toxins. It's not food at all. Mm-hmm. So most of what people are eating is not food. So it'd be like, putting water in a car and being like, why doesn't this car work properly? I don't understand it. It's like, we're just not giving a species appropriate diet for humans.
So what does that look like for you in your day-to-day life? Like what do you eat? And all that.
Yeah. So exclusively single ingredient whole foods. So for me, my entire diet can be summed up in fruit, raw honey. I eat red meat. I eat shellfish. I eat fish. I eat tubers like sweet potatoes and white potatoes. I eat white rice, and that's essentially it. Like if I get into things like ultra processed food, I might have like a couple squares of 85%, dark chocolate or something like that as like a treat. But ultimately I'm eating single ingredient whole foods as close to as they exist in nature as possible. And I actually don't eat a lot of green vegetables or anything like that.
Do you go out to eat? Like, do you go to restaurants and stuff?
Yep. And so, same, like if I go to restaurants, I'm looking for like a steak and a baked potato. I always ask the server what oils they cook in, and it's almost always canola oil, soybean oil, whatever. I just say, hey, can you cook my food in butter? They always say yes. It's never been a problem. Mm-hmm. So I just eat the same way really wherever I am.
And I'm assuming that you weren't always this way. So how old were you when you started eating this way?
Yeah, after I saw the documentary In Search of the Perfect Human Diet, that really changed everything. And that was introduced to the paleo diet as it was branded back then. And prior to that, like I said, is I could never get my body composition to look the way that I wanted it to look. And I was working out more than anybody that I knew. I mean, at one point I was doing CrossFit 2-a-days, and my body fat percentage was like 23%. And then like I found the paleo diet, and within a year, I'm like 9% body fat. I felt amazing. Like everything was great. I just got rid of all the toxins that were preventing my body from functioning the way that it should.
And did you change your exercise routine? So once you changed your diet, did your exercise regimen change too?
Massively. I went from 6 days a week, 90 minutes in the gym, to 2 to 3 days a week of basically compound lifting. I was doing a program at the time called Strong Lifts 5x5. So, I mean, I cut my exercise probably I was probably doing a third of what I was doing and getting better at it.
Wow. That's like the 4-Hour Body stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. 4-Hour Body was a transformative book for me. That book was amazing.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. And so did you notice, and I'm going to guess the answer, but like, if you slip and so you have something that is ultra processed, how do you feel now? Like
trash. Yeah.
Really?
Well, I mean, I guess I would say like now I've done this for so long. I've been some form of paleo or like single ingredient whole foods for 12 years. And then I've had a lot of experimentation in between. Like I was strict carnivore for a full year. I did nothing but like red meat and eggs. And the only cheat I had that wasn't carnivore was black coffee. So I've done a lot of these experiments, but they're all fundamentally based around whole foods. So I've gotten to a place now where my immune system is pretty bulletproof. And if I have something that's not great for me, I'm like, I might feel weird or I might have to go to the bathroom or something like that, but it doesn't floor me. Whereas when I first converted to paleo, I did a 90-day paleo reset. And then after 90 days, I went and played a gig or something and like drank a few beers. Like the next day was like I was hit by a truck. I couldn't function. I was like, oh my God. And I always tell people this, like most people's health ailments are a direct result of them never having had a long enough period of time with zero poison, which takes us all the way back to Savannah. All baby formula in the US is toxic. Fundamentally, it's toxic, right? Mm-hmm. So you have these babies that are coming out of moms who like during the whole pregnancy experience, they're, lathering on lotions and soaps and all these things with estrogenics that are impacting their hormones, and they're eating ultra processed food. So like the baby's literally cooking in an oven where it's getting toxic inputs. Mm-hmm. And then they come out into the world. We could talk about vaccines forever, but they have other things introduced to their body as soon as they come out. And then a lot of times mom isn't healthy, can't breastfeed. Now you have this baby who's put on a formula. And then from there, look at all the toddlers walking around. It's like they're eating like goldfish crackers and wheat puffs and all these things, right? Like my 8-month-old has organ meat meatballs every day for breakfast. Her favorite food is short rib. Right? It's like pasture raised short rib cooked in an Instapot. She eats stewed apples. She eats raw carrots. Like, I mean, it's insane. She has a healthier diet than most humans I've ever met at 8 months old. So the whole point of this is I'm going to set her up for the best possible health for the rest of her life. Where most of us, it was the exact opposite. I was born in 86. Like my teenage years were like strawberry Pop-Tarts and Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Dunkaroos and Coca-Cola and Doritos. It was like most of what I was eating was ultra processed junk. And I was a fat kid and I was sick. I had bronchitis and I had, asthma and all these things, all these issues that I had that I don't have now. Like most of our problems simply come from never having had a long enough period of time with no poison. So when someone comes to me and they're 50 years old and they're a type 2 diabetic and they're on medication for their hypertension, and I have them go basically just paleo for 90 days, at the end of that, they can't go back. Some people do, but they have a hard time going back. So they're like, I just feel like trash. I tried to eat a Domino's pizza with my family and I was screwed for the weekend. I had a headache and I couldn't get out of bed and I was sweating. I'm like, yeah, you remove the poison and then you reintroduce it. And you have this aha moment of like, oh, wow, I've consumed poison at every meal every day for 50 years.
Right.
But if I go to a doctor, they're just like, here's this medication. Here's this thing. They don't even ask you what you eat.
Sure. What is your energy level throughout the day? Like, do you tend to peak at a certain time and then do you have a slump, or are you pretty consistent throughout the day?
Very, very consistent. Yeah.
And
I definitely wouldn't say that I have energy slumps. I mean, right now I have an 8-month-old, right? So things are a little bit different. The first 6 months, I was having energy slumps because we co-sleep, right? So it was like my whole life was completely different and an actual lack of sleep was impacting me. But also I have ways of mitigating that, right? There's an infrared sauna here next to me and I have my cold plunge and I have all these different things that I can do for my energy levels. But yeah, I mean, sleep is primarily important. But aside from the lack of sleep prior to baby, I never had like an afternoon crash or anything like that. I really don't know what that is in my reality right now.
And so what can you walk me through just like a day in the life? Like what time do you wake? Again, obviously 8-month-old, hectic, crazy times, but like what does a typical day look like? Like what time are you waking up? What time are you going to bed? What are you doing in between?
Yeah, right now is interesting because I get the baby at usually about 5 a.m. So my fiance will wake me up. She'll give me the baby. I take the baby out of the room into a guest room and the baby sleeps on me, co-sleeping for about 3 hours. She usually wakes up around 8. This morning she slept till 9, which was unreal. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
And that's great because that's the only window of time where my fiance who's breastfeeding gets uninterrupted sleep.
Totally.
So my morning routine is different than it has ever been.
Totally.
But the moment that I wake up with that baby, we're outside, we're watching the sun on our naked eyes. Like I have my shirt off, she's in her diaper, we're out there and we're just getting sun on our skin. So sunrise and sunset are two of the most important things you can do for energy levels, for energy production in the body, like sets your circadian rhythm. Truly, like fundamentally, anyone who's listening to this, like don't change anything about your food, don't change anything about your exercise. See the sunrise with your naked eyes every day and see the sunset with your naked eyes every day. Do that for 30 days and I promise you will feel different. Your sleep will change, your energy levels will change, even changing nothing else. So that's the most critically important piece is sun exposure is huge for me. And then from there, it's just the foods that I'm eating throughout the day. Little things like I have a standing desk set up here. I can turn this into a standing desk. I have a little walking treadmill there, super, super light, 30 to 60 minutes of walking on the treadmill. I'm not like huffing and puffing, right? I'll do that while I work. I train for 20 minutes a day. That's it. Literally 20 minutes. I have little workout programs that I do there.
Yeah. What does that look like?
Right now, due to I just launched an AI company and have been working like crazy. I basically I have a rack outside that has pull-ups and bars for dips. So I'm doing pull-ups, dips, and I'm doing split leg squats with dumbbells. And I'm cycling through those 3 movements with a 10-minute timer. I'm just doing as many as I can for 10 minutes. And then I'll do 10 minutes of something that would be considered cardio. Like I'll do med ball slams or I'll do battle ropes or something like that. Basically whatever I feel like doing. So block 1 is 10 minutes is resistance training. And then block 2 is some sort of like high intensity interval training. Like I might do 45 seconds on with the battle rope, 45 seconds off and do that for 10 minutes. So in 20 minutes, I mean, I've smoked my body. It's like, it's pretty intense workout. Yeah. But the sort of, I guess, volume and time intensity is different than doing 90 minutes of bodybuilding. The recovery time required is significantly less. So I can get away with doing that every day versus if I was doing, 300-pound back squats, I'd limit that to, 2 times a week, probably max.
Right. And do you tend to work out in the mornings or afternoons, or it varies just depending on the day?
Afternoon. Like today, I'll do it right when we get off of this call. Depends, right? Depends on baby, depends on business.
Sure.
I just did a massive AI build this last week where I was just constantly working Claude Code, and I was doing my workouts at 8 p.m., which is not great because that tends to disrupt sleep. But I mean, I just kind of get it in when I can. But usually, generally speaking, I'd love to do it sometime between like 1 to 2 p.m. Central.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And yeah, tell me about the AI company.
Yeah, so we do what would be considered fractional AI operations. So
Okay.
I have a background in e-commerce, obviously heavy e-commerce with the coaching business, MedChoice supplement company, Clovis a supplement company. So what I found was a lot of these bigger companies, we work with companies doing over 50 million, and they have big teams, they have employees, all this stuff, and they're very interested in AI, but they can't go like spin up an OpenClaw bot and put it in their business. Like the risk is
Sure.
too high, and the CEOs are so busy, they don't have time to stay up to speed on like the latest and greatest in AI. So myself and my business partner have been in the AI world for years now. And what we found is we can come in and basically be their AI arm. We know all the security processes and all these things. So we come into the business, we map out the whole business front to back. We interview their employees, all their C-level people. We understand their workflows. We map that out. And then we do custom builds. And we say, here's how AI can come in and cut your overhead significantly. And it's different for every single business. So every project is quoted in that way. Like each proposal is different. We usually come in on a 12-month contract, and we just come in and completely rework these businesses.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah, it's very cool. And it's nice because, if you go on Upwork and hire an AI engineer for $5,000 a month, like you're getting an AI engineer. They're probably a talented AI engineer, but they've never been an operator. They've never been a high level CEO or an operator. So they don't understand. When you hire an AI engineer, they're counting on you to tell them what to build. So if you're a CEO that's already doing your CEO role, you have FOMO, you're like, I feel like I'm missing the boat on AI. I feel like everybody's ahead of me. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? You have this, then you go hire an AI guy, and the AI guy's like, what do you want me to build? And you're like, I don't know, dude. I'm running this bit. What do you mean? What do I build? Right. So this is why Joe has had 3 exits, and I have my background in all my companies and all these things. So we think like operators who just happen to be very talented at AI. So it's kind of a pretty unfair advantage we have in the space.
Can you say what it's called? Plug it.
Yeah, it's Nault Systems. That's it.
Amazing.
Hit me up. Ping me on Instagram. I'll build for you. And the thing is, like, we don't even market this. I don't run Facebook ads, anything like that, because I'm in a lot of like high level masterminds for e-commerce, like all around the world, all these different groups and stuff. So all of our clients are coming to us word of mouth at this point. But anybody who's listening to this who wants to ping me, for sure, we can chat about it.
That's amazing, dude. I feel like I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours.
Same, man. This has been super fun.
I so appreciate you, dude. Thank you for doing this. Where can people find out more about you and get in touch and all that good stuff?
Yeah, best way is Instagram. So all my social media handles are at Justin Nault Official, because there's some other Justin Naults running around. I don't know those dudes. So Justin Nault Official on all platforms. Instagram, I'm definitely the most active there. So if you send me a DM on Instagram, it will be me. It won't be a team member or something. Like I will respond directly to your DM. We can chat about whatever you need help with. And also, I send a ton of free resources all the time. I have a free metabolic assessment. I have a free foods list with over 110 foods to choose from. Like you said, like, what do I eat in a day? I'm like, here's the list that I lived by for 10 plus years, and I'll just send it to you on Instagram.
Amazing. Well, dude, thank you so much again. I appreciate you. You're a beast. And I'm looking forward to hanging out more, man. Thank you.
Thanks, man. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.